Yeah, audible. Yeah, thank you.
We're going to record this meeting. Okay, so anyways, on behalf of Yoga Vidya Pranic Healing Foundation, I welcome everyone for this amazing session with Mr. Hariharan. So you only introduce yourself, that you'll be the best person to.
Sure. No, thank you so much. By way of background, I'm a mechanical engineer, and I have also done my PGDM in finance from IIM Calcutta. I've spent about 17 plus years as a banker, and now I run a business with a friend of mine for the last 7 years that's into engineering manufacturing. By way of pranic healing background, I got into pranic healing about 2001, and so now it's about 23 years. The My passion, my interest lies in healing, in spirituality. I've had some spiritual background earlier in my very early days in relation to Vedas and Upanishads. But generally, I consider myself as eclectic across all cultures and religions, and I believe so. That's my view. That I think we should be more spiritual than be religious. That would be my view and take on spirituality. So that's it. So if you just call me Hari, that's who I go by. Before we begin, let's just do a small prayer. I mean, a prayer is always good. I think to be thankful to God, including for the very present moment, the breath of life, very, very important. So just please close your eyes. You can use your own words, your own prayer. We will use a universal prayer to the Supreme Being, to the Supreme God, to the God that we call Almighty, all-loving, all-compassionate, all-knowing, omniscient, to that which is all around us, above us, below us, within us, without us. We humbly bow down, we seek your blessings. Thank you for blessing us with divine light, love, and power, with illumination. To all the great spiritual teachers, including to Grand Master Chua Kok Sui and his great teacher, we humbly salute, we seek your blessings. To all the great ones, we thank you. To our soul, our divine self, we thank you. In full faith, in complete faith, so be it. Okay, now let's begin. We don't really have a structure for this, so I'm going to go by questions. And I'm going to be asking the questions. Okay, all of us know about babies, right? We've all been babies, right, at one point in time. Let me ask you this. Does a baby know chemistry when it is in the womb of the mother, or when it is just out of the womb of the mother? Anybody answer that? No. Does a baby know how to differentiate oxygen from nitrogen and from carbon dioxide? No? Question then, right? How does the baby know that it has to breathe oxygen? Who tells the baby that it has to breathe oxygen? Obvious question, right? In air, you have oxygen and you have carbon dioxide. You know that you have to inhale oxygen and you have to exhale carbon dioxide. What will happen if you reverse it? If you reverse it, you don't exist. So the question is, a baby doesn't really know chemistry. It's obvious, right? Baby doesn't really know chemistry. So the question is then, how does the baby do it? So what you have to understand is that there is something called as rational intelligence, or what you call mental intelligence. This mental intelligence we tend to develop as we go along the way, as we grow. That's why a baby initially doesn't know chemistry, but when it goes to school and it starts reading, it gets to know about air and its components and all of that, and how oxygen is useful and what's the purpose of carbon dioxide and so on and so forth. So the question then is, in the womb of the mother, and even just when the baby is right out, what is that intelligence? What is that intelligence? Or what is that program that causes the baby to breathe oxygen and not anything else? Isn't that really a question to ask? Right? No. So that program or that consciousness which causes the baby to breathe oxygen is what you call the soul. It's what you call your higher intelligence. There is mental intelligence or what you call rational intelligence. This rational intelligence we tend to develop as we go along. But you see that for a baby that exists, even though it doesn't really know chemistry, even though the brain has not developed substantially, even though intelligence has not really developed. So don't you realize that there is something which is higher than rational intelligence, which continues to function even though we don't really know it? Now let me ask you another question. Even while we are adults, right? We go to bed, our body sleeps. Now, in your deep sleep, your mind is not functioning. Your conscious mind is not functioning, which is why when you wake up, when your body wakes up the next morning, you have no recollection. Don't you know that? In your deep sleep, what happened? You have no recollection. Why? Because your conscious mind is not really working. It's not functioning. So then, if your conscious mind is not really functioning, wasn't your heart beating at that point in time? Weren't you breathing at that point in time? So the question is, how was your heart functioning and how was your breath or respiration functioning? Who was making it function while consciously your mind was sleeping or not conscious at all? Are you able to appreciate the question? So that program or that consciousness which is functioning underneath everything is what you call the soul. It is a form of higher intelligence that we are not really able to fathom. So one of the aspects of the soul is this intelligence. But then there are other aspects to the soul, which is why in the Hindu tradition and in other cultures, you have the Trinity. You have the Trinity. Trinity means triple, the triple nature of the soul. One aspect of that is this higher intelligence. Another aspect of that is love. Another aspect of that is what you call will or power. So these are the three aspects of that consciousness, of which one of them is intelligence. And you can see this intelligence really functioning within you. Now let's take another step. What's the population of the world right now? How many people in the world? Anybody take a guess? Okay, 7 billion, 8 billion, somewhere thereabouts, right? Okay. Do you know that the fingerprint, the retina scan, and the DNA sequence is unique? Is there any repetition? In the 7 billion people, do you find any repetition? Anybody who's a replica? Even though the faces may look similar, but the fingerprint, the retina scan, and the DNA sequence are unique, which is why you have your Aadhaar and biometric and all of that, all the passports work, because you cannot fib. What's unique for you, it's unique. Nobody else can duplicate it, or there is nobody else. That's how they are able to catch criminals and so on, right? The fingerprint analysis, the forensic analysis, the DNA. Are you able to appreciate that? Question. How is it that a newborn baby doesn't have the same gene sequence as the 7 billion people? Who is monitoring that? Isn't that a question to ask? How come every newborn that comes, that means it has to know, right? If there is no repetition, that means there has to be a consciousness or intelligence that is really functioning. If you ask a mathematician, they will say, this is a statistical impossibility. How is it that, for example, a newborn, when it comes to the world, it is unique by itself and there is no repetition? So that means there is a universal consciousness or a database, if you like, if you want to use that word, that has the repository of this information. And which means we are all connected to that database or repository. Otherwise, there would be a statistical error, right? There would be a repetition. So that global or universal consciousness to whom we are all connected to which we are a part of, is what you call God. It is that universal energy with consciousness, which is what we really call God, for lack of a better word. That's how we call it, or how we know it. And we are all a part of it. I mean, it is obvious when you look at life, it is so obvious that there has to be this universal intelligence that ensures that there is no replica. Everything that comes out of it is really unique. So we are all that unique aspect of it. We're all that unique aspect of it. So now let's take this concept to what you call realization. We are all souls, but we are not realized. I mean, there is what you call lack of awareness, or there is what you call spiritual forgetfulness. It's just like this. Your body can do complex reactions even while you're out of your mother's womb, right? You know that. In your body, chemistry is already functioning. The baby doesn't really know chemistry. It learns chemistry later and then begins to understand, oh, this is how the reactions work. So that is what you call realization. It is already there within you, but we are not aware. So when you study, when you seek, then you begin to understand, oh, this is how it must be functioning. That is what you call development or of awareness or realization. It already exists in you. It is already you, but you have to study it and you have to realize it, or we have to study it, we have to realize it. So that is what soul realization is about. It's already working within you. It exists within you. It is you, but we are not really conscious of it. So realization is a conscious process, just like studying chemistry or physics when it is already working for you, to know how it is functioning within you. Are you able to appreciate this? Right? Now let's take the concept of a cell phone and also a tree, and it makes it quite simple or easier to understand. When you look at a mobile phone, you have the body of the phone. And within that, you have, for example, the chip. No, what do you call that? The SIM card, and also you have the battery. You have the battery within the phone. Now, when you look at the phone, are you able to see the SIM card? Is the SIM card really visible from the outside of the phone? No. Is the battery also visible from the outside of the phone when you look at the body? It's not really visible. What is visible to you is just the frame of the phone, or what you call the monitor of the phone. That monitor of the phone is what you call the body of the phone. But you know that without the SIM card, the phone cannot really function. Ever tried using a phone without a SIM? No, it doesn't work, right? It is really the SIM that connects you to the network. And then you realize that your identity is actually the SIM. If you have a phone, right? Let's say the phone has a MEI number or whatever it is. If somebody has to call you, would you give them your MEI or phone instrument number saying, hey, look, this is an Android and this is the serial number of the phone. Just ping me. Let's chat. Is that how you introduce yourself? No. What would you rather give them? You would give them the phone number, right? So that phone number, does it belong to the actual phone instrument? What does it belong to? It belongs to the SIM. It is the identity of the SIM, right? Because you realize that when the same SIM is removed from one phone and it is moved to another phone, that other phone becomes functional and you start receiving calls on that phone. Does the caller really care what instrument you're using? Does even the mobile network company care what instrument that you using? No, what they log in is your SIM and your mobile number, which belongs to the SIM. So you realize that this SIM is really your identity, and that SIM is what you call the soul. The phone instrument itself is the body, but the SIM within is the soul. And in order for people to call or connect with you, you have to give them the SIM number, which means that is how you identify yourself as the soul and not really the frame or the monitor. And you realize that when this SIM is moved from one phone to another, the previous phone dies and the next becomes active. Don't you see that? So that is the process of incarnation and reincarnation. Does it make sense to you? Now then you will ask, but we forgot about the battery. So that battery is also invisible. But you know that the battery and the SIM are different, correct? The battery and the SIM are different. Even though you have the SIM in the phone, but you don't really have the battery, or you don't have charge in your battery, will the phone really function? The phone doesn't function. So what then is the battery? The battery is what you call prana or pranic energy. Without pranic energy, without the breath of life, the soul cannot really function in a body. So you need both. You need the SIM card, which represents the soul, and you need the battery, which is what you call pranic energy. The SIM card is what you call the consciousness, and the battery is the power of the energy to move or to manifest the consciousness. Are you able to understand? Now let's take it another step further. The SIM card can be changed, meaning it can be moved from one phone to another phone. That is what you call the process of incarnation, birth and rebirth. So it is so obvious. It is so obvious. Now, when you ask yourself, why did I change the phone? What would your response be? Why did you change your phone? You were using one phone earlier, now you're using another phone. Maybe you have used several phones. Why did you change your phone? Old, right? Old, okay. It is worn off. The new software is not functioning on the phone. So that means you realize that the phone has a limitation. The hardware has a limitation. The hardware is not upgraded because the software becomes sophisticated. The software becomes sophisticated, so the hardware cannot really function, cannot be used for the sophisticated software to function. Which means the phone instrument just is like an old clothing. It's an old clothing, doesn't fit you anymore properly. It doesn't fit you anymore properly. You are the same. It doesn't fit you anymore properly. It's not fit for your use. So then what do? If you have a clothing that is old and that you have grown out of, what would you do with that? You will discard it. How many clothes have you discarded so far? Many, right? Many. You have to change. So you have to change from the old to the new. That process of changing from the old to the new is what you call death or rebirth. Now, if you realize it, if you look at it from a neutral perspective, you'd say, oh, that's really good. You're discarding the old and you are welcoming the new. That's good. That change is good. Now, that change is what you call death, which is fearful, or many of us are afraid about. But it is really a process of change from something that is not really functional to something which is now more suitable or functional. Because the purpose of the instrument is not really to retain the instrument. The purpose of the instrument is to be able to function. What use is a phone to you if you cannot use WhatsApp, or if you cannot make a phone call, or if you cannot really watch reels? Right? So that means you have to have an instrument that is functional. So that functionality, what is that functionality? That functionality is for the soul to really express itself. When you have a functional instrument, what is happening? You are communicating, right? You are expressing your thoughts. You are able to get your work done. So in other words, the purpose of the instrument is not really the beauty of the instrument itself, but the purpose of the instrument is for it to be functional. And for it to be functional means the body has to allow the soul to express itself. When the body becomes worn out, when the body is no longer suitable as an instrument for the soul to express itself, the body has to be changed. So this process is what you call death. We know it as death. Now let's take this another step further. You have a phone bill, right? You get a phone bill from your company, from your network provider. Anybody who doesn't receive a phone bill? I would like to join that network. So we all have phone usage, and then there is a detailed bill that comes out. Now let's assume that you have really changed your phone instrument. You were using Android, let's say Samsung earlier, and now you switched over to Apple. Is it true, or is it logical for you to expect that the phone bill should not come to you anymore? Because your logic is, look, I was a Samsung earlier, now I'm an iPhone. Why are you charging me for it? Will the network provider accept that excuse? That's not plausible, right? If you don't pay the bill because you think, oh, I was a Samsung, now I'm an Apple, I'm not going to pay the bill, what will happen? There will be several reminders for you to pay it. Maybe your phone connection gets cut off and then you're miserable. Yes or no, right? So that is what you call the law. That's the law. This is the law of karma. You are the soul, you are not really the body. In your previous form, you committed certain mistakes, meaning you used services but you never paid for it. So now you have changed the phone, and you expect that the phone company should not charge you. Is that logical? It's not logical. So that is the law. The law follows you, the soul. The law is applicable to the soul, not really the form. So if you have not paid the phone bill for the past several, months or years, then of course the bill is going to be huge, and you have to pay it in order to be able to use the services. Now, on the other hand, if you had paid a lot of money to the phone company earlier, because sometimes we do that, right? There is a lot of credit that you have because let's say you paid over and above what you used. So then the phone company will say, oh, you already have this credit balance with us, so you can use our services for free. We will not charge you till the account is exhausted. So which means you have a credit balance, you have a debit balance. That is what you call the law of karma, which means sometimes when things are going good in your life, you are using the credit balance, or the credit balance is really working for you. When you enjoy good health, when you have good relationships, when you have good finances, and things are just smooth sailing, it is the blessing, the credit that you're enjoying. But you also realize that there are times when you are low, either physically or psychologically, or the finances or the relationship or whatever else. So it is a part of the debit that you're working out. So from this you realize that the law is applicable to the soul. So then you have no complaint. You say, oh, maybe this is happening because this is what I did in the past, and it is coming back to me. And if you're enjoying goodness, then you say, oh, this is also what I may have done in the past, and hence it is really coming back to me. So this helps you understand the concept of the soul and how it is functional. Because when you look at the phone instrument, you cannot really see the SIM. Neither can you see the battery. So which means what is visible is only the form, but the invisible is real. The soul is real. It exists. It is you, the soul. And prana or energy is also real. So prana or energy links the soul and the body. It is the link between the soul and the body. Without prana, the body cannot function, or the soul cannot use the body to function. Which is why when the body dies, in Hindi they say uske pran chhoot gaye, chale gaye ya nikal gaye. So what it means is that the soul leaves, and also the aspect of prana leaves. Meaning, in the sense, it escapes, the body is no longer able to use it anymore. Let's move to the concept of evolution. Imagine a tree, right? Imagine a tree. So from the tree gives rise to several fruits. there are several fruits that come from the same tree. So let's take an apple tree. So there will be several apples. When you take an apple, when you pluck an apple from that tree, what will you call that? You'll call it an apple, right? Will you call it Sam or Jake or somebody? No. You take another apple, what will you call it? You'll still call it the apple. So anything that comes from that same tree, you label it as an apple because it is so obvious that, it comes from the apple tree. Inside the apple, what do you see? Within the apple, what do you find? You find seeds. Do you find seeds? Now, when you sow the seed in soil, you nurture it, what will happen? It will grow into an apple tree. Do you have any doubt whatsoever, what will come out of the seed? It is so obvious, right? You'll say, "Arey, kya pooch raha hai yaar?" Would you ever think that a mango can sprout from an apple seed? It is so obvious, right? No. So that is what we are coming to. That tree is what you call God. So that tree gives rise to many apples. But within these apples, there are seeds which are actually a replica of the tree. Don't you realize that? It is a mini replica of the tree. It has the potential to become an apple tree by itself. But as of now, it is not really an apple tree. Would you agree? You have a seed which is a potential apple tree, but as yet it is not really the apple tree. So what it means is that this apple is you. Within you, within me, within all of us, there are seeds. What is this seed? This is the seed. This is what you call the divine seed. Because the apple tree is what you call the divine God. You know that from the database of 7 billion, we are all connected to that tree. So within the tree, within the individual, you and me, just like the apple, there are seeds. These seeds are what you call divine seeds. So that divine seed within each one of us, an aspect of that is what you call the soul. But then you realize that the seed is raw or immature. The seed is raw or immature, correct? The seed is a potential tree, but it is not really a mature tree yet. So that is how the nature of the soul is. Compared to the tree itself, the soul is young, raw, immature, inexperienced. But you know that when you sow it in soil and when you water it, when there is sunshine and when there is nourishment from the earth, then the seed will grow and it will bloom into a tree and bear fruit. So this process is what you call the process of maturing. The program within the seed works itself out. That process is what you call realization. Within each one of us, there is a divine essence, or what you call the divine seed. That seed is a potential tree, but it is not yet the tree itself. In order for the potential to become manifest or to become real, you have to be tested. You have to be sown in the soil, and from the soil, you have to break ground. I mean, when you look at a seed, you know the seed is so tiny. If you look at the seed is really so tiny, correct? When the seed is so tiny, if you ask somebody, can this seed really come out of soil? Isn't that a good question to ask? How come this seed, which is so tiny, can break ground? You know how hard ground is? Did you ever ask yourself the question, how does this harmless seed, which is so tiny, how is it possible for it to break ground? That is the power of God. That's the power of the program inside it. When the seed is sown in soil, there is darkness because it is inside the soil itself, right? That is what you call ignorance. But the program is a light within. And that program has the ability to break ignorance and come out. When it comes out and you see it, you have no doubt. You say, how could I even think in my wildest of imagination that this seed could not break ground? That is what you call realization. We are all sown in darkness. That darkness is what you call the form of the body, but within it is the potential to be enlightened. When you break ground, when you overcome the darkness of ignorance within each one of us, there is an aspect of realization. And then there is no stopping. Because the tree, as you realize, once it breaks ground, it moves towards the sun. It moves towards light. It seeks light. That is what we are all seeking. We are actually seeking light. This light is what feeds us. And hence, soul realization. So now, let's talk about this realization and how this course will help you. Then we will open it up for questions. This process of maturing from a seed to a tree, that's what you call realization. Now, this realization is a science. It's not just an art. Because, for a seed to really grow into a tree, you have to nurture it, you have to water it, you have to tend to it. The same thing with the soul. The soul needs to be fed with teachings and techniques. And who is the gardener who takes care of the seed? That gardener is the teacher or the guru. The gardener is an aspect of God in the physical form. The course that we are talking about, which is Achieving Oneness with a Higher Soul, is from the school of Pranic Healing and Arhatic Yoga. And the guru or the founder is Grandmaster Chua Kok Sui. Many of you are pranic healers. You know him through his teachings. So he is the patient gardener who keeps on watering the seeds so that the seed can eventually break ground and can bloom and bear fruit. In order for the seed to mature, two things are needed. You need what you call techniques and you need blessings. You need techniques and you need the teacher. Both are necessary. Without the teacher, the techniques do not function, do not work. You have a teacher, but the teacher doesn't give you techniques, it becomes difficult. So you need both of them. In this course that we will study, we are going to practice several techniques. There are going to be, for example, simple exercises, physical exercises, breathing exercises. There are going to be affirmations. There are going to be meditations, powerful meditations, and a deeper understanding of the concept of the soul itself. It is actually a deeper understanding of yourself. When you buy a machine from the market, let's say a washing machine or a computer or a TV, doesn't that come with a manual? So the question is, aren't you a very sophisticated machine? Much more complicated? Shouldn't there be a manual along with you? Right? So that manual is within you. A part of the manual is in your chakras or energy centers. So by studying, you get a deeper understanding of yourself. You actually open the manual that tells you more about yourself and how you function. And how, by using the manual, you can repair. You know that there is troubleshooting. The manual gives you, what you have to do, what you should not do. So the same way for the soul also, there are do's and don'ts. So these do's and don'ts are what you call yama and niyama, or rather niyama and yama. The do's are what you have to do in order for you to survive and exist as a soul, to thrive as a soul, and the don'ts are what you should be avoiding so that you don't cause spiritual death. So that is connected with character building. So character building is discussed in detail. The manual is discussed in detail so that you continue to progress as a soul and you do not really falter. The reason why people suffer in life is because of ignorance. Let's say there is a fire in front of you. You don't really know what fire can do. right? So you go and touch fire, and then what happens? You get burnt. When you get burnt, then you have pain, and then there is a realization, oh, next time I see something like this, I should not really go near it. Doesn't that happen to us? But that is learning through suffering. Because you made a mistake, you have to pay the price, and then you learn. That's not really a good way to learn, is it? Would you agree with that? Would you like to burn yourself over and over again in order to learn something? No. So that means there has to be an easy way to learn. The easy way to learn is by understanding and following simple instructions. Somebody who has burnt their hands or their fingers in fire, you listen to them and to their experience. Then you use your judgment and then you say, oh, what's the temperature of this? What's the normal temperature? Oh, what will this do to me? So in other words, by listening and following the instructions of an experienced soul who has been through the process, a mature soul that has been through the process, you avoid yourself pain. That is an easier way to learn. That's an easier way to learn. Haven't we had spiritual teachers in the past? Right? 5,000 years ago, there is a great teacher by the name of Lord Krishna. What was the teaching he gave out? Anybody? No? You forgot? Yeah, the Bhagavad Gita. Right? Now, about 2,000 years ago, there was another teacher whom we call Master Jesus or Jesus Christ. What were the teachings that he gave out? The teachings of Christianity, the Bible. If you look at the Gita and the Bible, there is a lot of similarity. Because both talk about the I am. Both talk about the I am within you. If you read the Gita, the translation of the Gita, there are several verses where it says Lord Krishna is referred to as I am. And he says, I am the Rig amongst the Vedas. I am the Gayatri amongst the mantras. I am the, what you call the first and the last, and so on and so on. All right? And then likewise in the Bible, you will also have references. I am the way, I am the truth, I am the life. No one comes to the Father except through me, and so on and so on. So that means this I am, which you see, which is referred to in the Bhagavad Gita and the Bible, refers to the soul. It's just an English terminology for the concept of the soul, the I am nature within us. Now question. The Bhagavad Gita was revealed about 5,000 years ago. The teachings of the Bible about 2,000 years or so thereabouts. Don't you find those teachings still relevant? If you have an old newspaper, which is let's say 10 days old, will you care to read that newspaper? Anybody who does that? No? Nobody does that, no? I mean like, यार चलो आज पुराना पेपर पढ़ते हैं, मजा आएगा. Now, how come the Bhagavad Gita, which is 5,000 years old, you still read it? Isn't that a question to ask? How is something that was revealed 5,000 years ago still has relevance to this very present life and day? Because of several reasons. One of them being, it is ancient wisdom and it relates to the soul. It relates to the soul. And it was revealed by a great spiritual teacher. That's the power of the soul. So these are ancient teachings that are relevant for the soul. What you see in the newspapers is more material. So can you see how ancient wisdom that was revealed so much in the past is still relevant to present day time? Because the conflict that the soul has is more or less similar. You look at how the war was fought in those times, and all the cheating, the deceit, the greed, the power, those things, don't they still exist today? And isn't that really what the soul is fighting or struggling with? So those conflicts were described in the Bhagavad Gita, that confusion was described in the Bhagavad Gita, and also the way to come out of the confusion. And which is what was also revealed by the Christ, and which was also revealed by the Buddha before him. So those teachings are still relevant today. And that is ancient wisdom, because it relates to the soul. So you see that these teachings are timeless. Something that was revealed 5,000 years ago is still valid today, and it'll still be valid several thousand years later, because that's the nature of the soul. It's timeless. It exists beyond and across time, and hence the teachings as well. So that is what we are going to really study and understand. I will pause here. I will open up for questions that you have. Let me just check the chat 1 second. Okay, any questions, anything that you would like to ask? Yeah, the network is what you call God. I mean, if you think of the network, right, it's a wireless signal. It is omnipresent within a certain radius. You have a telecom tower, but you know there are. Don't you have telecom towers across a state and also running across the country? There is a single universal bank, which is HDFC Bank, but doesn't the bank have branches? You have a branch, a local branch, then you have a central branch, then you have one in a different state. But all of that comes under the umbrella, which is what you call HDFC Bank. So that's the nature of God. That is how it functions. There are, individual aspects of it. So that network is what you call universal consciousness, energy with consciousness, which is what you call God. How my God is fluctuating now and got disconnected for some time, so missed the part. Okay, never mind. You'll get it. How come we dial certain numbers more? Meaning there are, very simply, there are people that you gravitate towards, and let's talk about long term rather than short term. So if you have long term associations with people and you find them beneficial, right, because either you're pursuing the same thing or you feel more comfortable with a certain set of people, it's likely, and this is over a period of time, that you've had beneficial relationships or loving relationships with them, not just in this lifetime, but across many lifetimes. But also there are people with whom you have difficult relationships, and this is not just over a few days, but over several years, and this has been continuing like this, and you find it difficult to mend that relationship, which means also this is a relationship that has existed over a long time, and it has been a relationship of what you call hatred or irritation. So it is an association that you have. You have good associations, and you also have not so good associations. So these are associations with souls. So these souls, some of them, they have been kind to you, and you have been kind to them, and by this association you have grown together, maybe in previous lives. So the nature of these souls as groups is to really assist and function together. It's like your school, your grade in school. You belong to a certain school and you have a batch, and everybody in that batch kind of recognizes, because you have been, right from grade 1 to grade 10, you have been together and you have studied together, so you know what your strengths are, what the other person's strengths are. So you tend to associate together. Why? Because you have grown from first to second until 10th, and then you leave. Even though you leave later, when you meet them, don't you have that warmth with them? Don't you still recognize them, and don't you still say, oh, why don't we celebrate? Let's remember those days of joy. Isn't that really what happens? This is what also happens to us in our lives. We meet souls from, whom we have been together with for a long time, a long association. When you meet them again in this life, it's like old friends meeting up and chatting. It's good fun. But likewise, there are other relationships also. So these are, for lack of a better word, these are groupings of souls that kind of move or work together. Okay, let's look at something else. Okay, as you said, the soul leaves the body at the night when we sleep. There are times when we see dreams where I see deaths of people who I know, but I don't really connect it on a daily basis. It makes me restless. Okay, the concept of dreams, again, is not to be taken kind of literally. It is just what you experience in your subtle bodies. Sometimes if there is fear in the subtle body, then you may also see or experience that kind of fear, and that may manifest in your dreams. So what you may see in your dreams may not entirely be true. But sometimes your dreams could be prophetic, which means they could tell you about the future, but that doesn't necessarily always happen. So what you see in your dreams doesn't necessarily mean that it is true. It may sometimes just be your fear playing out. In which chakra or body part are past lifetime memories placed? I think generally all the chakras carry that information. More about it, when we discuss in the class. But generally, you see, let's say if there is a physical issue or a problem, right? It could be, for example, a musculoskeletal problem. It could be a problem with the heart or the lungs. It could be a problem with the throat. It could be a problem with the eyes. And then you know that all of these are different chakras. So if there was a physical problem that manifested because of, let's say, past negativity, that could manifest through any of the different chakras. So that means the different chakras carry that kind of information. But of course, there is a repository from where it enters the bloodstream, and from where that energy goes to the different chakras. That we talk about later in greater detail. When you spoke about karma and consequences, what should one do to end suffering? I mean, very simply, the way we understand is that the law. I mean, there are superior and there are inferior laws, and the superior laws always prevail over the inferior ones. Which means that if you believe that the law of karma exists, then there are two superior laws, which are, for example, the law of forgiveness and the law of mercy. So these are superior laws that prevail over the subordinate law. If somebody believes that they are suffering from a karmic consequence, then you have to use the two laws. The law of forgiveness states that you have to forgive others for whatever wrongdoing that they may have done to you. So you have to forgive people unconditionally, and you have to release them from their limitations. Whatever limitations you have imposed mentally or otherwise on them because of the resentment. You have to release them, and then in return, you will receive forgiveness for what you may have done. And the law of mercy says that if you're suffering from a certain affliction, you have to help other people overcome a similar affliction. So when you do that, then you're working with superior laws, and you tend to neutralize the law of karma. Okay, I'm going to skip that question on hybrid because I don't really know. I think those are man-made. We are talking about natural kind of examples here. Okay, so what do you mean by somebody is asking about samskaras that are stored in chakras? Very simply, the when there is a situation that presents itself to you, different people tend to have different reactions. Different people tend to have different ways of behaving. So let's say it's about alcohol, or it's about a certain addiction. You have alcohol in front of you. For you, you don't really have that kind of addiction, or it doesn't really make you go for it. Whereas somebody else, when they look at the same thing, they are not able to stop themselves. They are rather gravitating towards it. So how do you explain this process? How is your behavior different from theirs? What is it within them that causes them to gravitate towards alcohol, whereas you are free from it? That is what you call samskaras, which means if in the past you have been doing a certain thing, the force of habit. If you have been doing this several and several times over, it becomes a natural tendency for you. Which means if somebody has been drinking alcohol or abusing alcohol in their previous lives, they have a natural gravitation towards it. Whenever there is stress, whenever there is any kind of pain or suffering, that's the easiest go-to. Why? Because that information is already there in the chakras. But in your case, if you have been abstaining from alcohol, you have different ways in which you can address stress, because you were either meditating, you were doing pranayama, you were doing other things. Then for you, even though you see alcohol and you're stressed, it is not really a natural gravitation. You are able to kind of overcome that. Why? Because again, it is not in the nature of your habit. And that information is stored in the energy centers of the chakras. For somebody who has been, let's say, following a certain way or mode of life, for them, following that mode of life in other lifetimes is quite easy. So let's say if you have been meditating in the previous lives, in this life meditation comes to you easily. Why? Because that is also the nature of habit, the pattern that is stored in the energy centers. Does it mean that somebody who has not been meditating cannot meditate? The answer is, of course they can meditate. They can learn. But the challenges have to be overcome. Because it's like swimming against the tide. For you, you are moving with the tide. For them, they are swimming against the tide. But once they overcome the tide, then it becomes a natural rhythm for them as well. And if they continue doing it, then they also build a positive habit pattern. Which means in lives to come for them, meditation also becomes easy. So somebody asked a question, how do you sense your soul, or how do you listen to your soul? It's very simple. You are the soul itself. What prevents you from listening to yourself is the noise in your head, is what you call the chatter, the mind chatter. So you have to learn to still the mind. And that is one of the things that we will discuss in the course. You have to learn to still the mind. And a very easy way of stilling the mind is to be aware of your breath. By being aware of the breath. But there are other ways of doing it which we will practice and discuss in the workshop. The biggest hurdle to realizing yourself is the nature of your mind. Because your mind distracts you from who you are. Your mind tends to be outward looking. Your mind tends to think, अरे यार आज करने का क्या है? What should we do? What should we plan? आज डिनर में क्या करना है? आज कौन सा मूवी देखना है? पैसे कैसे कमाने हैं? So it tends to be more projecting outwards. In order to listen to your soul, this outward looking nature of the mind has to be withdrawn. And you have to look inwards. That is what is called pratyahara in yoga. In the Yoga Sutras of Patanjali, there is a step called pratyahara. Pratyahara means withdrawal of the senses. What it means is that you're looking outwards, you have to turn and look inward. When the same mind is focused inwards, then it will reflect the soul. Which means, very simply, you have a mirror, okay? You want to look at yourself, but the mirror is pointing outside. If the mirror is pointing outside, you're looking at the back of the mirror. Will it show you the face? In order to see your face, what do you need to do? You have to turn the mirror and look at it, which means that mirror is your mind. It is outward looking. You have to turn it inwards and you have to still it. And then when that is done, it allows you to see your true nature. And when you see your true nature, then slowly you become used to it and you can listen to it. One of the biggest challenges is the nature of the mind. And when we say the mind, all of the samskaras and everything else come within it. This has not been practiced in the past, so it becomes a difficult practice, but it is not to say that it cannot be practiced. You have to reverse the motion. So there are techniques that help us purify and clean and still the mind. So we tend to practice them. And then once you get used to the practice, then it becomes much easier to do it. The question is, how can this knowledge help us? How can this knowledge help us? Because the knowledge, for example, a technique that you know or that you understand is knowledge. So what do you do with that knowledge? You'll have to apply it. When you apply it, then the technique is no longer outside, but it is within you. The question is similar to asking, how will learning to drive a car help me? Learning to drive the car is what you call the technique. You enroll into the motor school, they will teach you how to drive the car. So you will know all the mechanics of it. That's the technique. But you have to start applying it. When you start applying it, you become a very good driver. So then what does it help you do? It compresses time, because if you have to go somewhere else, instead of taking a bus which is very crowded or waiting for the bus, you can just take your car, you drive, your process gets accelerated. So what is the purpose of the knowledge? The purpose of the knowledge is to accelerate your spiritual journey. What would otherwise take many, many lifetimes or incarnations to achieve, it can be accelerated within a few lifetimes. That's really the purpose of the knowledge. Okay, somebody is asking about Akashic record. Yeah, I mean, very simply, there is a record of all your past life. Meaning in the sense, if you go to a mobile phone company, wouldn't you have a record of all the calls that you've made? And the expenses that you have incurred, the data that you have consumed? So the mobile phone company has it, no? That's what you call your record. So likewise, you're the soul. There is a database that has all that you have been through. That is what sometimes you call the Akashic record. So that means there are records of individual souls, but then there is also the record of the planet, what the planet has been through. So that is the Akashic record of what you call the planet. But then you also realize that there has to be some similar system for the solar system. So then there is also the Akashic record of the solar system, because how the solar system has really evolved, what kind of energies or races have been there, and the beings. So some of those things. What will we learn in the soul class? Will it be knowledge on souls, yoga techniques? Okay, so let's spend some time on it, because that's a question that is relevant. Firstly, there will be an understanding of the nature of the soul and how the soul is different from the body or the form itself. This is not just plain knowledge. We will also experiment with it. So it is an experiential knowledge. We are going to discuss about the nature of the soul. We are going to discuss about the Kundalini energy. We are going to discuss about the seeds. Remember the apple seeds? So there are seeds that you have within you which are a pattern of your life. So where are those seeds located? What is the purpose of the seeds? We are going to discuss about the 12th chakra, about the location of the soul. We are going to discuss about the purpose and the usefulness of character building, and how can you practically apply this in your day-to-day life. There are affirmations that we will practice. There are chantings that we will do. By chanting certain sacred words, you can really still your mind. You can really calm and still your mind so that you can listen to your soul. And we will practice a couple of powerful meditations, ancient meditations, the ancient form of Bhakti Yoga, that is in a modernized form, and the ancient form of Raja Yoga, which is again represented in a modern form. If, for example, you read the Bhagavad Gita, in the Bhagavad Gita, the Lord Krishna says, during the moment of death or during the hour of death, if you concentrate on a certain point and you call my name, you will come to me. That is very cryptic. Likewise, in the Bible, the Lord Jesus says, the gateway of heaven is not here or there, but it is inside you. So what is this gateway of heaven? Where is it located? And how do you really access it? And that what Lord Krishna is talking about in the Bhagavad Gita, which is an access way to heaven or to him at the moment of the hour of death, is also what is revealed. It is a technique. I mean, if you practice that technique and become proficient in it, then it is a skill that you have. It is a skill that allows you to enter and leave. Look, you have a house, right? Do you have a house? Most of us do, right? Are you captive in your house? Are you captive in your house, or do you get out of your house? Do you have the choice to come in and go out of the house? You do, right? That's what we do most of the time. Your body is like a house, but the soul is captive in it. The soul doesn't really know how to escape it or leave it. Just like you enter and exit the house, same way you should also have the facility to enter and exit the body. So that is one aspect of development. There is a process that allows you to do that. There is a technique that allows you to do that. You have to practice, or we have to practice that technique, then it allows you to exit and enter as you like. Yeah, can we overcome negative patterns? Yes, the answer is yes. Along with that, the character building has to be practiced. Okay, this is a theoretical question. Okay, Akashic records. Does the soul move in different chakras or stay in one chakra only? Well, yes, the soul moves in different chakras. So, can you move your legs? You can move your legs, right? Can you move your hand also simultaneously? So that means there is someone that is moving your leg and someone that is moving your hand simultaneously. Your leg is your lower chakra representative. Your hand is a relatively upper chakra. So you can see that the soul is moving both here and there. The soul is just like God, omnipresent within the entire body. Okay, let's just do an experiment before we close. This experiment is related to feeling the energy. Can you please touch the center of your right palm? And can you also please touch the center of your left palm? Bring your hands about 5 inches apart from each other, not too far away, just about 5 inches. Your armpits are slightly open, they're relaxed. Keep your arms, your palms steady. Then you slowly move your hand one away from the other, very slowly. And then very slowly you bring your palms close together, push them inside. Move your hands away, and then you bring them inside. Are you able to feel a certain pressure in between your palms as you do this. Now that pressure that you feel in between your palms is the sensation of energy, or what you call prana. Now let's take this experiment further, just another couple of minutes. Bring your palms together, let's say the 5 inches apart. You have to say this. You have to say, I am the body. Just say that. You say, I am the body. You say, I am the body. You say, I am the body. I am the body. Now, as you do that, feel the pressure. Observe the pressure as to what happens to it when you keep saying, I am the body. I am the body. I am the body. Can you feel that it becomes much lighter? You hardly feel the pressure? Okay, flick your hands. Bring your hands together again, 5 inches apart. This time you say, I am the soul. 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 Is there a difference? Did the pressure really increase? Can you feel that the pressure increased? Right? So what does it tell you? When you say I am the soul, you have more energy. When you say I am the body, you have less energy. The reason why we have suffering or problems in life is because we lack energy to deal with it. And why do we lack energy to deal with it? Because we are so identified with the body and material possessions. Most of our time is spent on chasing material possessions. But if some aspect of that time, some part of the time was used in seeking spiritual insight, in trying to connect with the soul, then the energy level would increase. Is the phone more useful when the battery is charged or discharged? It's more useful when the battery is charged. So when you identify with the soul, when you connect with the soul, there is more charge. That means you can function with ease. But when you try to connect with the body or the material nature and you're enslaved by it, then you lack energy to deal with life. So which means if you have energy, if you have battery in the phone, can you only make calls, or can you send WhatsApp? Can you also surf the web? You can do many things if there is battery, right? So which means if you have energy, this energy can be used to maintain good health. This energy can also be used to increase your success and prosperity. It can also be used to make you more spiritually enlightened. So don't think that, oh, if this course is about the soul, it is only for spiritual enlightenment. It is not really like that. When you connect with the soul, you have access to greater energy, and this energy is like money. You can use it for whatever you want. When you work, you will have more clarity and you'll have more power to do the work. You'll have greater success, and so on and so on. Also, you will tend to enjoy good health, because one of the secrets of healing, if you read, for example, the books of GMCKS and the recommended reading on Alice Bailey, it says disease is the lack of proper flow of soul energy. Whenever there is a blockage to the energy of the soul, there is sickness or disease. That sickness or disease is an indication that the energy of the soul is blocked. When you remove the blockage and you allow the soul energy to flow through properly, that sickness gets healed or relieved. So which means the greater the flow of soul energy, the greater the health you enjoy, as long as it is karmically permissible. Okay, so with that we come to an end. I would welcome you to join this beautiful workshop on the 3rd and the 4th. I mean, I can promise you that you will have fun. And it will be, you know, one of the things with spiritual concepts or topics is that you tend to become serious, no? I mean, you think, oh, it's going to be serious. Well, there is a saying which says cheer is wisdom. The more wiser you are, the more cheerful you have to be. You know, you look at many of the saints, they tend to be very cheerful or joyful. In other words, the purpose of the workshop and the teachings is not really to make you very serious. is to really bring the joy within you, so that whatever the circumstance, whatever the situation in life, you tend to be joyful, you tend to be happy. So that's really the purpose of this, and I'm sure you will enjoy it. So thank you so much. Over to you, Varsha.
Trishna, hi.
Krishna, sorry, I'm sorry. Sorry.
Thank you so much. It was amazing. I'm already getting a lot of messages that it has been very informative. Yes, Pranic Healing Goa is conducting this workshop on the 3rd and 4th in Madgaon. So people who are interested, please connect with us. And you have the number on the screen. Hari sir himself is going to take the session. And since this was an amazing, informative, and generic session, I am hoping to secure some time with him to do more such sessions. So people are inspired to do spiritual courses with us, with Pranic Healing. All those who have not done the class, please connect with wherever is convenient with you. But if you are in Goa or in and around Goa, please come. We have an amazing venue. We have an amazing trainer. It will be a blast.
And the weather will also be good. Rains, Goa and rains is good, right?
It is a blast, yes, in that way also.
Okay.
Adventurous, we can, promise you that. In the class and outside the class also, adventurous. Yes, thank you everyone for joining us. I am going to leave this on. The number is there. I'm going to put my number on the chat as well. Please connect and let us know if you are interested, and see you there. Thank you, sir, for this amazing session and for your valuable time. And everyone, we were at maximum capacity 100. We tried to go live, but okay, this is the first time there was too many technical glitches. Next time we'll do that as well. Yes, that's it. Thank you.
Yeah. Thank you so much. Thank you. Lovely talking to all of you over
Yes.
the phone.
Yeah.
Take care. Yeah. Bye.
Okay. Bye-bye. Good night.
Good night.
Bye. Atma Namaste. Atma Namaste. I'll keep the screen on with the.
Well,
Yes.
Can
Hi.
I ask something?
Yes, please do.
Yeah, I have already done the soul class, but if I want to do the review,
Okay.
then what are the arrangement? Like reviewers are allowed, or?
Yes. Reviewers are also allowed. Please connect with us. And my number is in the chat. Please text me. That number is on WhatsApp. Yes. Please text me and please come. We can connect on the arrangements and all. I'll share the screen. I will actually.
Good name? Your good name?
My name is Trishna.
Trishna. Okay.
Yes.
Where is your number? I can't find it.
On the screen, I am going. See, on the screen, can you see the image?